This film, made in 1903, recalls the first flight of this primitive biplane making aviation history.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ayn Wafadar, and I'm your MC for this momentous occasion. On behalf of the Advanced Air Mobility Institute, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to the Global Advanced Air Mobility Forum, Summer 2024. We are gathered here today over the next 2 days to explore and discuss the incredible investments and future potential of advanced air mobility, AAM. This forum features more than 65 distinguished speakers from over 55 countries, making it truly a global event. Our audience today includes experts from various sectors, government officials, authorities, and industry stakeholders, all united by a shared vision of revolutionizing transportation through innovative air mobility solutions. This forum will explore the boundless possibilities of AAM by delving into critical themes of government engagement, infrastructure development, and public acceptance. We aim to overcome challenges and shape the future of seamless, efficient, and sustainable air travel for all. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome on board our first keynote speaker, Verity Richardson, the director of Shiro. Could you please assign panelists? Thank you. Richard. Verity, can you hear us? Could you please raise your hand? Thank you so much for joining us, Verity Richardson from Archer Aviation.
Thank you so much, and thank you very much for having me. I just have a couple of slides that I want to share as well, so let me know if you can see those. Yes?
Yeah, sure, thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, so firstly, I'd just like to say thank you for having me here today. I've been in the advanced air mobility industry for coming up to 6 years now. And in that time, it's been incredible to witness its global growth and development. And so continuing to have events like this is very exciting. So I'm from Archer. I'm the Director of Business Development there. Archer is one of the world's leading eVTOL OEMs. So we manufacture safe, sustainable, low noise, all electric, vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, so otherwise known as eVTOLs. We're gearing up for commercial launch in 2025, and this year alone, we've achieved significant milestones, receiving our certification basis from the FAA, becoming a Part 135 operator, and completing the transition flight of our aircraft Midnight, which we all know is a huge technology enabler. Today, what I'd like to talk to you about is public perception. So recently, you may have seen articles with headlines like these. Uninformed statements such as noisy and gas guzzling are not what we want to see, especially since we know that this technology is neither of those things. So where is this coming from? Let's take a look at some statistics from public perception studies first. So we have two here. One is from EASA and one is from Airbus. The first shows that 83% of people have a positive attitude to AAM, and the second indicates that more than half of respondents believe that the industry is safe and supportive. So why do we have this negative news, and what can we be doing about it? For me, the first step really is within the language. So what I would like to do is start to shift from acceptance to advocacy. I think that acceptance suggests something which is tolerated, but not necessarily welcomed. Advocacy, on the other hand, means the community sees and supports all of the benefits of this technology. Benefits including a positive economic impact, not just where these aircraft are manufactured, but also in their areas of operation, providing skilled job opportunities, infrastructure projects, and increasing local spending as more people can access these areas. Minimal residential impact with low noise and no local emissions. The main reason why residents do not like airports near their homes is because of this, and we have a solution. There's also a broad market appeal, so opening up access and time savings to a multitude of people. Now, I imagine many of you have seen this early adopters curve on the top right, But what I think is more interesting is the one just below it. You can see here that as we've moved on, the curve of adoption has become a lot more steep. And so we're starting to move through this cycle much more quickly, and people see a new technology and bring the adaptation up. So I believe that AAM as a widespread service will be with us very soon. One key acceptance point, which communities often question, is personal usage versus a service for the rich. Here, I think the electric car market offers a useful parallel. You can see on the graph on the bottom left that as the price point of electric cars has dropped, their usage didn't just grow linearly, it started to grow exponentially. People are eager to embrace sustainability. And I think in this industry as well, with our aim to keep bringing prices down and make this accessible to all, we'll start to see this as well. And I've personally seen this at air shows and events. The response is overwhelmingly positive, especially from young people and businesses who see the potential for new job opportunities and cleaner skies. So I think first-hand engagement here is crucial. So just to wrap this up, I think it's good to touch on what this means for you. What I'm trying to look at is as we explore new markets, we need to focus on how we engage with communities, with governments, to promote this advocacy and to make them see what benefits it can bring to their communities as well. So yes, very happy at any point if anyone wants to reach out to talk further about Archer and what we're doing. But I think for me, public acceptance has always been a big passion, or I should say public advocacy has been a big passion for me. So thank you for giving me the time to talk to you about it today.
Thank you so much for your exceptional presentation, Verity, and thank you for advocating advanced air mobility for us. Thank you. So we are having a great and special guest today from ICAO, International Civil Aviation Organization, Danya Aboud. Danya, can you hear us?
Hello, everybody.
Hello and good morning. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you, Amin, and nice to see everybody else. So today I'll be presenting very quickly an event that ICAO is organizing. Before that, I would like to just very quickly share my screen. So my name is Dunya Aboud. I am Advanced Air Mobility Community and Project Management Specialist at ICAO in the remotely piloted aircraft systems section of the Air Navigation Bureau. And as I mentioned, today I'd like to talk about a big event that we're organizing here at ICAO that will be held from 9 to 12 September 2024. The event is the first Advanced Air Mobility Symposium that's organized in collaboration with the Canadian Advanced Air Mobility Institute, with our event sponsor being WISC and our official airline being Air Canada. So this is a major event. We are expecting around 1,000 people, and there will be, people coming from all over the world. Some key highlights of the event include, networking opportunities with key stakeholders. So there will really be all kinds of people from C-level to ministerial attendants to high-level officials from all over the world, and to, experts in the field of advanced air mobility, representatives of civil aviation authorities, consulting firms. Really, we are expecting a very, very varied participation and a global one. One thing that's really interesting about this event is that we are going to hold a very holistic program. So we're not only going to look into, let's say, the technological, aspects of advanced air mobility, but we're actually also going to look at many other areas, or kind of analyze advanced air mobility from many other perspectives. So, for example, we're going to put a lot of importance into the topic of sustainability. We also expect panels on economics of advanced air mobility, on safety management, on the next generation of aviation professionals and how advanced air mobility will likely influence the landscape. And much more. So you have this QR code to your right. I invite you to go and check out the page. There's a lot of information there. You'll have all the details about the program, the confirmed speakers, and also our event sponsors, and also all kinds of exhibits that will be there. I also want to mention that there are special rates for, let's say, academia, students, but there's also a limited amount of free tickets for startups, personnel that would like to attend the event. So, feel free, have a look at the website page, and don't hesitate to reach out to me on LinkedIn if you would like to have more information on the event. And before I close the small invitation for you to join the next Advanced Air Mobility Symposium, I also wanted to let you know that we have a LinkedIn page called the ICAO Unmanned Aviation and Advanced Air Mobility page. And there you really have a lot of information on the ongoing work of ICAO in the area of advanced air mobility, the events, the webinars that we're organizing, the different type of training. So really, we try to share with the community as much information as possible. With this, I thank you all very much for your attention, and I wish you an excellent event. Thank you.
Thank you, Dunya, for your introduction, and I believe everyone on counting days for the first ICAO Symposium. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
So I would like to welcome aboard our first regulatory affairs speaker for this call event, Giancarlo.
Hi, Amin. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon from England. After a very busy week at Farnborough, I'm sure that we have many things to share and exchange information and good points as always at the AAMI. I would say that once again, the eVTOL and advanced air mobility market has been probably the protagonist of Farnborough this year, and I'm really pleased to see that great traction, not only from a regulatory perspective, but as well opportunities of new investment. We've seen big announcements on the market of eVTOLs and very important infrastructure side. So I'm very, very pleased that we're seeing this traction. So I just want to make a few comments about some regulatory news that we're seeing recently on my area of coverage of Europe and Middle East. Basically, what we're seeing now is that the traction that we're seeing on advanced air mobility is moving now to regulatory-wise for a matureness stage. The maturity that we're seeing after the initial introduction of already some of the regulations that we have for vertiports and eVTOL aircraft around the world, mainly in Europe with EASA, UKCA, FAA in the US, and most recently as well, the GCA in Dubai, and the government of Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. So covering a little bit of what's going on here in the UK, we're seeing that there will be probably an announcement very soon that the UKCA will be honoring the SCV that was published by EASA. Concerning as well, I think this is an excellent news because after Brexit, we've seen that the UK has had a little bit of challenges adopting the regulations internationally from other organizations such as EASA, and I think this will not only help to enable advanced air mobility locally here in the UK, but as well it will enable as well the good relationships between Europe and the UK in the level of aviation. I think this is quite exciting to hear. Additionally, just to make aware that EASA has published a second iteration of SCV last month, and with adding some flexibility to the certification processes in place. In the Middle East, we're seeing as well a shift, which I have the idea that this will be the way of going forward of adapting vertiports for within heliports as well. So basically drafting the regulations to cater both operations into one single document. This is certainly the direction that we're seeing in Dubai with the UAE GCA. And I wouldn't be surprised that many other authorities around the world will start looking into creating just a single set of regulations to cover heliports and vertiports in this place. And finally, I just want to bring to the attention as well of everyone that we need to really advocate more on the topic that Verity was talking about societal and public acceptance. This is something that as most of you probably know, I used to work with Skyports up until January of this year. And it's something that I think people do not really understand the complexity of moving this public acceptance node direction that we need to cover with different governments around the world. Even here in the UK, we started a piece of work over the past 2 years to start enabling, local councils, or as you know, in the United States, municipalities, to tell them what's AAM, what are the benefits, how will we support the growth of the economy as well locally and creating more jobs. So I think that it's a beautiful opportunity to discuss always where are we heading as an industry, and bring this topic of public acceptance to the view of everyone. So certainly I will continue pushing and advocating in every single opportunity I have about the extensive benefits for the carrying of passengers and cargo of eVTOL aircraft, and why not other technologies as well as we move into SAF and hydrogen, etc. in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gian. Thank you for your presentation. All right, thank you so much. So I would like to welcome to the stage our first liaison to the UAE. Wasaf Akhtar. Wasaf, can you hear us? Good evening, and you have the floor.
Hi, Amin, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. I think good to be here, Amin. Thank you for inviting me over here today. It's wonderful to be a part of this AAM Institute panel. And let me just share my screen. So let me begin. My name is Wasaf, and I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Air Chateau from Dubai. And I represent the liaison for Advanced Air Mobility Institute on behalf of UAE. I will just go through the slides quickly to you to present what we are doing right now here in Dubai. And I agree with what Giancarlo said in the previous panelist session, saying that Dubai has been very proactive. Well, in fact, UAE has been very proactive in taking considerable measures towards coming out with regulations and standards and policies. Well, in fact, it did start its marketing campaign back in 2017 when Volocopter came out with its eVTOLs of demonstrating the future air taxi operations. And I think we have come a long way, and a lot of applaud needs to go to the government of Dubai and the vision of Crown Prince to provide us this particular work here and make the dreams a reality for AAM to present vast opportunities amongst the general population. So I'll just briefly go through these slides of what we are doing here currently in Dubai. So where are we from? Air Chateau. We are from United Arab Emirates, based out of Abu Dhabi, capital being, and the government type is federal monarchy, having a population of 10 million. The GDP is about $1,000 US. There, right down there, you see we have a beautiful heliport, which is having about 9 parking pads and 1 FATO, which is capable of having 10 to 12 eVTOL throughputs, future eVTOL throughputs in an hour. Right. So the major developments in UAE is as follows now. So the GCAA has taken considerable measures and various private sectors partners in Dubai to establish multiple vertiports across the country. These initial locations include Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, Jebel Ali, and Ras Al Khaimah. And as you have seen on the LinkedIn news feeds and several other media outlets, Joby and Archer have made it clear that they do want to start the commercial operations in 2026. And what we have right now in Dubai is Dubai Helipark has integrated 3 megawatts substation at Dubai Helipark facility for charging requirements for 10 eVTOLs with a further availability of 3 megawatts, making a total of 6 megawatt availability, enough to charge at least 10 eVTOLs simultaneously. So we have also had key partnerships with the likes of OEMs like Archer and eVet Mobility for their eVTOLs and UATM systems. Dubai Helipark has also set up region's first eVTOL hangar facility to provide MRO services for regular maintenance, repairs, and overhauls. This was inaugurated last month. We have a 2,600 square meter hangar, which is specifically built for charging and conditioning equipments to eVTOLs. And Q1 of next year, we will be launching a soft testing of EVE's UATM system to demonstrate the ConOps for vertiport operational airspace. So you see the above developments of what's happening in Dubai right now weave the most basic components of eVTOL ecosystem, be it the electric infrastructure availability, the airspace standardization, and the build criteria for vertiports for performance class 1 helicopters, which by default supports the eVTOLs, allowing UAE to bolster its stand of improving its city readiness index. The next slide, we have the new laws and policies. What are the new laws that have come out of UAE right now? So GCAA are going to propose an amendment, publish a notice of proposed amendment for hybrid heliport vertiport standardization, meaning whatever heliports that are existing right now in the UAE will be suitable to have eVTOLs land on those particular piece of infrastructure. And this is done under the Civil Aviation Regulation Hybrid Vertiport Development Standardized Regulation by GCAA, which marks a significant milestone for us to come out with standardization of hybrid models of infrastructure for both helicopters and eVTOLs. And for fire codes, we are following the most famous NFPA 418 standards by National Fire Policy Association. And GCAA is also working hard to provide personal training and competencies programs for VLOs, meaning vertiport landing offices and vertiport landing assistants. So currently, there is a mandate from GCAA saying every vertiport needs to have, or every heliport needs to have at least one HLO and HLA. And how do we fit in those competency programs for these future eVTOLs is something that GCAA is looking at quite strongly now. And they're also setting up standards for simultaneous and non-simultaneous operations for both helicopters and eVTOLs. And we at Dubai Helipark are officially certified by Dubai Civil Aviation Authority for the design and execution of heliports and vertiports in UAE, thereby marking a significant milestone in our expansion plans for advanced air mobility sector. And the public sentiment in UAE looks quite positive, I must say. It's as good as saying, you know, there is congestion, there is a lot of time wasted in traffic, and people are just tired of not getting their points swiftly. So when we go and interview people out in the streets about having air taxis from a particular point to a particular location where the demand density is huge, they are just quite receptive. 80% of the 8 out of 10 passengers or people we interviewed on the streets just say, yes, they would like to avail this facility. And it looks quite positive, which is also driven by the promise of reducing traffic congestion, enhancing connectivity, and supporting sustainable development. And a lot of population in UAE see eVTOLs as a cutting-edge solution that aligns with its vision for smart cities and technology innovation. However, that being said, there are also concerns about safety and regulatory challenges. And that's why all the stakeholders, together with the vertiport developers, the eVTOL companies, and the helicopter operators, are working hard to ensure that there is a cautious optimism that's generated before deploying these eVTOL services. And this also looks to be reflecting onto the general public as well. And the current UAS AAM project that we are working right now are, number one, we are having ongoing monitoring and evaluation of operations with helicopters to ensure that there is compliance with safety and efficient standards. So what we are doing basically is we are building a consensus-based standards to build on the data sets with helicopters, with PC-1 helicopters, which would then enable the regulators to pull out the data sets and a set of standard procedures and policies towards eVTOLs once they are type certified. We're also updating our operational protocols to include new technologies, safety and security processes for simultaneous eVTOL and helicopter requirements. Installation of electric chargers, we already have a 6 megawatt facility, power available at our facility. And the current thing that we are doing right now is we are undergoing an impact study of how it affects the grid and how does the grid respond to providing such power during peak hours is something that we are looking at and would also enable the public here, the people who have joined this session, to help us to understand certain criteria of understanding the impact study on the grid. And we are also looking at downwash and outwash considerations. We have been working hand in hand with the eVTOL companies to understand what is the footprint of these downwash and outwash, and how does it typically affect us into building those criteria on the vertiports. We are currently,
Fantastic, Christoph.
sorry, go on.
Fantastic. So because we are so limited with our lineup, we should adhere with 5-minute restriction. And I'm so sorry about that for because you have fantastic insights, and we would love to have it all. So if you could just, yes, please jump into final presentation.
Sure. No problem. So Air Shuttle, we are from Dubai Helipark Heliport, which is meeting most of the requirement to become a hybrid heliport to vertiport and operate the eVTOLs. The current infrastructure is adequate, what we have here, but specific adjustments are needed to optimize the eVTOL operations, including effects and managing simultaneous operations. Now, this is the last slide I would like to end up with. What are the next steps and recommendations, and what are the strategies that we are doing at Air Shuttle? We are implementing infrastructure changes, installation of electric chargers and hybrid marking on the teal-off. We are also training our personnel to be hybrid equipped for both helicopters and eVTOLs, and having a continuous evaluation of monitoring and evaluating our operation standards to ensure compliance with safety and efficiency standards. Thanks once again for everyone for bearing with me here today. And I look forward to understanding more about the panelists in the session. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. We are positive that there are a lot of developments happening in the UAE concerning AAM. Thank you for presenting.
Thanks.
Fahad, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
I would like to welcome to the floor our liaison to Oman, Fahad Al-Riyami. Fahad, you have the floor.
All right, let me share my screen very quickly. Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for joining this session. My name is Fahad Al-Riyami. I am the founder of an eVTOL company called Aerovecto and a senior advisor at the Advanced Air Mobility Institute and a liaison for Oman. So today I'll be talking about the AAM developments in my home country, Oman. So since we're limited to 5 minutes, let's get started. So a quick overview of Oman. It is a coastal country on the Arabian Peninsula. Its capital is Muscat and has a population of around 4.5 million people. Oman has a diverse geography, so you'll find deserts, mountains, coastal plains, and even, lush green landscapes certain times of the year. The economy thrives on oil production, fishing, and tourism, with a GDP of around $40,000 per capita. So Oman has achieved some noticeable milestones in the AAM/UAS sectors. We saw the launch of the first Omani-made drone. Next year, Otis Aviation and our local public transport company, Mwasalat, will start eVTOL logistic trials. We have companies such as Asbar, Star Drones, and Ibn Farnas Drone Center already implementing UAS solutions in the energy and agriculture sectors. On the software side, we have local companies developing a traffic management system and surveillance applications for UAS management. And we've also seen drone delivery trials for parcels and food. And we have the country's first eVTOL OEM actively working on developing aircraft for public transport. So these milestones sort of reflect the country's commitment to AAM/UAS. In terms of the laws and policies, Oman Civil Aviation Authority is leading these efforts. It has introduced regulations covering operation, use cases, training, licensing, and certification. The Omani government is actively supporting AAM/UAS initiatives with both its own trials and with the private sector. So these regulations not only promote innovation, they also ensure the safe integration of AAM and UAVs in Oman. So looking at the public sentiment towards AAM/UAS in the country, it is increasingly positive. Success stories include expanded use of UAS in search and rescue operations and agriculture. And the growing level of Oman's investment in AAM/UAS highlights sort of the confidence and in the benefits these solutions have on the country. Community acceptance is growing with initiatives like drone technology training and public aviation events showcasing the potential of these technologies. Now, with despite these advancements, there are some concerns from the public. So noise pollution is an issue, with the Civil Aviation Authority actively working on noise abatement procedures. There are integration concerns as well, as drone activities near airports have caused disruptions in the past. Other than that, there are general privacy and safety concerns about AAM/US technology, but this is sort of a global issue and it's not really unique to Oman. It's something that will be addressed over time as people get used to seeing the technology on a daily basis. Now, when it comes to related surveys or polls, there's a general lack of publicly available research in the space. That said, we have a National Center for Statistics, and they are open to gathering such data in time. So if we look at media analysis, for example, it reveals both enthusiasm for technological advancements and some of the concerns mentioned earlier. Community efforts, including public events and training programs, have been effective in addressing some of those concerns, as well as fostering support. So it's fair to say that, public perception, while positive, remains cautious, sort of emphasizing the need for established regulation and community engagement to address any concerns. So moving on to the project I'm working on, as I mentioned earlier, I'm the founder of AeroVecto, an Omani startup working on building eVTOL aircraft specifically designed for mass public transit. Our aircraft shuttle will carry 15 to 18 passengers and serve as an alternative mode for public transport, flying between multiple vertiports within the city on a regular schedule, thereby, reducing demand for ground-based transport and in turn also reducing the associated traffic congestion. You can learn more at aerovecto.com or you can follow me on LinkedIn. So in summary, Oman's AAM/US ecosystem is evolving with notable milestones achieved and promising opportunities on the horizon. It's not without its challenges, though, as regulation matures to address public concerns for privacy and safety, as well as the need for more publicly available research. So looking ahead, there are some key events taking place that will showcase AAM/US technologies across many different industries, and expect more announcements from both the government and the private sectors in the near future. So that's all from me today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the forum.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Fahad. Thank you for joining us. Fantastic. All right, so we will move to Rod after our next liaison. So I would like to welcome to the floor Rose Funja, our liaison to Tanzania.
Thank you. I'm just going to share my slides. There it is, and yep. I am fumbling as in. Okay, I'll do it as it is. So hi everyone, my name is Rose Funja, liaison to Tanzania for AAM, but then also a managing director of Altitude X. And I'm coming from Tanzania, so I'd like to share with you a bit about Tanzania. So it's a united republic with a capital seat politically in Dodoma, but then economically in Dar es Salaam. And we have a population of 65.5 million people. And we're known for most things, but I picked three. So one is the highest peak in Africa, which is the Mount Kilimanjaro. But then on the lowest, we have the pristine beaches. So from Zanzibar, you can be able to access those ones. And we are blessed with the wildlife, and you can find the big five all in Tanzania. So most welcome. In terms of milestone, so in this space, we're not as advanced as a lot that I've heard so far, but in the drone space, for the past almost 6 months or so, what has been in the news and an advancement is beyond a visual line of sight. So this was something that was not accepted by the Aviation Authority. But now it is, and the impact definitely is in being able to use to do some surveillance, to do some cargo, aerial cargo, to do that. But then, of course, open to more regulatory and capacity in terms of the people that are working in that sector. And in addition to that, legislation-wise, so we have privacy and data protection laws that have been enacted within the country. So most of us will use unmanned aerial vehicles as part of cargo being camera carrying and taking data in terms of pictures. So those are things that we have to look out for right now. And then also airspace integration policies that have been enacted within the country. And of course, the implication is that as drone operators, which is the space that I am in, the environment is getting more structured as opposed to the past, and also privacy laws starting to look at safety and privacy, which you'll see later is something that is of concern within the country. In terms of public sentiment, drones mostly are seen as video capturing equipment because you'll see this in huge events, and that's what most people understand. So all these other uses beyond that, it's something that is new within this space. And issues most people have spoken about, security and data privacy. That's an issue here as well. And then also regulations. So regulations, instead of them seeing as structuring the space, they are actually viewed by the public as something that is a barrier to entry. So the way that they're being communicated, it's as if that you have, I mean, if you do not, obviously, if you do not observe them, then you cannot play in that space. But instead of people being welcome to the space, they're sort of backing away from that space. And that is also partly because of the highest fees that are in that space. So like a fee for, in order for somebody just to be a drone pilot, you have to at least put close to $1,000 on the table just at the beginner level. So that becomes things that are keeping a lot of people out of that space. In terms of what I do, I run Altitude X, and in that space, we use both drone data and satellite data in multiple sectors. So telecommunication, in terms of making digital twins for telecom operators to using their telecommunication towers as assets. In agriculture space, so payload being pesticides as well as fertilizers. So we use drones to spray, and in the construction as well as power lines in the energy sector. So that's what I do on a day-to-day basis, as well as, of course, doing surveys. And in terms of opportunity, as Tanzania per se, of course, our economy thrives well in agriculture space. So advancement in that in terms of using unmanned aerial vehicles in that space, infrastructure development, as well as using UAS or, I mean, not eVTOLs, but VTOLs to do in the health sector and disaster management for transportation of goods in places which are not as accessible by the road networks. Challenges being, of course, things like the regulatory, which is not as, I mean, it's getting there, but it's still at its very young stage. Privacy and security, which are concerns of the government and the public sector as well, and then also infrastructure and technology gaps, because most of us who are using UAS in this space do not manufacture them, so we do that as a service. With that, I would like to thank everyone for your time and looking forward to learn from you further. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Okay, thank you so much, Sahir. I would like to welcome to the floor our liaison to Saudi Arabia. Sahir, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you. I mean, let me just share my
Thank
screen. Thank you all. So my name is Sukhir Mavi. I lead the aviation advisory for a British consulting firm called Serco, and I'm the liaison for Saudi Arabia. With that, I will kick it off. Just bear with me. I'm not. Okay. Perfect. So as the second slide, I'll just go through the overview of Saudi Arabia. So the population of Saudi Arabia is 37 million, with the economy GDP of over $1 trillion. Aviation itself contributing to $21 billion. The GDP per capita is close to 27,000 USD. Now, as part of the diversification, KSA launched something called as Vision 2030 back in 2016 to diversify from the oil-dependent economy into the non-oil industries such as tourism, technology, entertainment. And key projects that are coming under Vision 2030 is something called as NEOM. I'm sure you guys must have seen it. The Line project, which is a 170-kilometer city that will be built with the estimated budget of $500 billion. Then there's Red Sea, Diriyah, Qiddiya, and something associated to aviation is the King Salman Airport, which will be one of the biggest airports in the world with the estimated budget of $50 billion at this point in time. For the milestones, instead of picking over the last 6 months, I intentionally picked over last 1 year. So just going in sequence, in Q3 2023, there was an establishment of a specific governance framework by Saudi's regulator, which is GAAMF, General Authority of Civil Aviation, to support the AAM development in the country. In Q4 2023, there was strategic partnerships between Volocopter and Terror Drone to conduct the pilot AAM technology initiatives in Jeddah. In Q1 of 2024, there were additional pilot programs specifically focused on vertiport infrastructure led by Skyports. In Q2 of 2024, there was first flight test flight led by Joby Aviation in Riyadh in order to get public sentiment as well as the feasibility with support of GAAMF. From the engagement and collaboration perspective, GAAMF, the regulator, had conducted an international symposium called as Future Aviation Forum to bring in regulators, international AAM leading companies, and public engagement to support AAM expansion, just not within KSA, but also within Middle East. In terms of the impact out of these initiatives, there has been numerous business partnerships. As you can see, there is a partnership between, there has been partnerships between NEOM and Volocopter. The final confirmed numbers hasn't been disclosed yet. However, there has been strong movement towards getting the aircrafts in place in NEOM sooner than later by 2026. Then Red Sea Development Company and Joby Aviation with strong interest from EHang company as well, which is a Chinese AAM manufacturer. Then the partnership between FlyNAS and Eve Air Mobility with MOU signed in Q4 2023 and eVTOL operation possibly launching in 2026. And recently in July 2024, there was a memorandum of cooperation between GAAMF and Lilium to activate advanced air mobility roadmap supporting GAAMF. From legislation initiatives and changes, there has been a strong government-backed investments to build vertiports and other necessarily AAM infrastructure across the country, as well as committees launched to design airspace integration model. Also, government has supported with the funds to launch Research and Development Center in Riyadh through KCAS, which is King Abdullah City for Science and Technology, to focus on enhancing logistics, surveillance, as well as operations for AAM within Saudi Arabia. GAAMF is actively working to enhance the framework as well as policies while adopting EASA standards in order to design, produce, and maintain the operations for VTOL aircraft. One of the key changes led by GAAMF is the drone operating licensing, which has been updated since 2021, as well as drone registration, allowing international companies to come test and launch their products in KSA. Public sentiment, it has been very positive in the country, although there has been a very interesting perspective from the younger demographic in Riyadh and Jeddah, about the safety, privacy, and noise pollution, which is a very common factor amongst various countries. But overall, it's been very positive. There was a study conducted by another consulting company called Alex Partners, which indicated that 7 out of 10 residents are very pro towards purchasing battery electric vehicle, although it's unclear about the adaptability of air mobility products. In June 2024, GAACA, along with EHang, conducted air taxi trial in Mecca as part of their plan to move pilgrims faster between key locations during the Hajj pilgrimage. Now, in summary, there is definitely a strong support and active work conducted by Saudi aviation authorities, GAACA, as well as PAF, to become the global leader in the AAM world, as well as to be the benchmark for future mobility solutions. And in order to support that, there has been a tremendous amount of work done to amend the regulatory changes, as well as support the various giga projects, such as earlier mentioned, in NEOM, Red Sea, at various airports throughout the country. KS is definitely providing strong government backing as well as financial support to launch AAM operations by 2026. There has been various international and national aviation mobility agencies, investment in those to attract companies to test and launch their respective AAM products in the region. And in addition to that, there has been strong testing programs in NEOM, Riyadh, and Jeddah. Happy to get more in detail. If there is any further question, please reach out to me through LinkedIn or through the email address mentioned in the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation and joining us today, Safar. Thank you so much. So I would like to welcome to the floor our liaison, Marang, Botswana. Marang, can you hear us?
I just want to greet everyone who has joined in. I'm just going to go straight and share my screen. Okay, my name is Maram Bakanyi. I am the CEO of Drones for Africa, a company that is situated in Botswana. What we do is we sell different types of drones, we train, we repair, and we have a research center and also do data analysis. In terms of Botswana, our capital city is Gaborone, and we have a population of 2.3 million people, and our GDP is 20.4 billion USD. I'll go on straight to the industry milestones. There's a lot that is happening around the world, but in terms of our country, Botswana, we are a bit behind in terms of a lot of, things that are done using, AAM as far as AAM is concerned and drones are concerned. Most of the use cases of drones have now changed in the last 6 months. At least now people are getting to now adopt and explore the other use cases. One of the major highlights was emergency responses and disaster management. We have areas where other people walk around 100 to 60 kilometers. You have to travel that long or wait for a while before you get help in terms of medical help and supplies are concerned. So we've seen recently now the deployment of drones for delivery of medical supplies in critical situations. I believe in the long run, they will now be put in place for not only crisis situations, but on a daily for catering for other people who are walking those distances to get medical attention. We've also seen the deployment of drones for search and rescue operations and disaster assessment. This has actually improved response times and enhanced safety for emergency emergency responders and provide critical aid in hard-to-reach areas. The other thing is medical and health aid delivery. Using drones to deliver medical supplies, like I said, and other things has actually helped the lives of people living in rural areas. And the other thing on the new laws and policies, like I said, in terms of the advancement and policies and regulations, we are a bit behind. But for the past month and months, there have been a review of the regulations that we've been having, and now they're putting in place new policies that will actually help with the efficiency of operations of drones in Botswana. And the other good thing is now the government is now consulting, stakeholders and experts to ensure that these regulations that will be established next month meet the industrial standards and promote innovation in the AAM and UAS sector. The positive implications about this is now this introduction, I believe, will now provide clarity and legal certainty for businesses and individuals involved in the drone industry. I believe this is now expected to encourage, investment, foster innovation, and support for the growth of the AAM and UAS sector in Botswana. Well, in terms of this, regulations that will be coming, the effect on the stakeholders, the drone manufacturer and service providers and operation will now benefit from a well-defined regulatory environment that supports sustainable growth and competitive advantage. The other thing is the government will have now, I believe, a robust framework to oversee and manage drone operations, ensuring alignment with national security, public safety, and environmental protection objectives. In terms of the general public, there will be clear regulations which will enhance the public trust in drone technology, because our biggest issue right now is the public has an issue with the regulations around the safety and privacy concerns, which now comes into the next slide of acceptance issues. While we do not have, significant protests or acts against vandalism around this drone technology, there are some challenges with public acceptance. Like I said, people are generally conscious about, new technology and may need more time to get to a point where now they embrace the AAM and UAS innovations fully. There have been privacy concerns, and people are worried about surveillance and also data security. And I believe now in educating the public and increasing transparency and also engaging the community, this will gladly and hugely assist. In terms of the public sentiment, we had an issue where a young man was battling depression. So as he was battling depression, there was a time where he went missing. And because he has been telling his friends that, I'm feeling, I feel like suicidal and all that, immediately when no one knew where he was, helicopters were dispatched. They tried looking up for them until now the cost mounted and the family couldn't even afford. And immediately drones were engaged, were put in, and within hours he was found and safely brought back to his family. So I believe the drones that were once a distant concept now became even closer to the people that were around, to the public who just didn't believe this thing can work, are now getting to saw this thing working real life, showing that true value in saving a young life during a crisis. So in terms of, how we can, what can be done, or what we're working on, or what I'm working on, we're hosting the largest AAM conference in Africa. And I believe as a group of liaisons around the world, we are looking for sponsors and speakers and participants. The idea is we might be hosting it, but the idea is to make it open and make it for all of us, so that we can go around and spread the message and make the public aware and educate the public. There is a lot of innovation and research that we wish to join hands with other licensed and researchers and innovators around who might be interested to join hands and do this with us. In conclusion, I'd say, you know, as a liaison at the AAM Institute, our role is to advocate for change and assist regulators and the government in putting the right regulations in place. And the idea is to hold hands and unite our efforts to make this vision a reality and shape a better future for all. Thank you very much. My name is Marambakanya on LinkedIn, and I am available. I've put my email. Okay, my email is marambakanya@gmail.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Marang. Thank you so much. Mari, can you hear us? We have Mari Sandra, our Uganda liaison.
Yes, hello, I can hear you.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mary Sandra, and I'm from Uganda. I'm going to present about our capital is Kampala, government type is Democratic Republic, and the population is approximately 50 million persons, as well as our GDP is 56.31 billion. The industry milestones we have so far, there is a partnership with the China Noinco, whereby Uganda partnered with the China's North Industries Corporation to establish a comprehensive workshop, and this is mainly to revolutionize military capabilities for the defense industry. Then there is also a joint research and innovation center, whereby this center will play a crucial role in developing new technologies and enhancing the Uganda's military capabilities. There is also use of drones in healthcare, whereby the drones are being used to transport medical supplies, and there was one of the projects that was launched at Makerere University, whereby we were using medical drone technology to transport the medical samples to the West Nile districts of Moyo and Adjumani. Then, for the new laws and policies, there have been some these laws have been drafted since 2022, which govern the drone operations, and these mainly cover the aspects of licensing, registration, and operation, so as to ensure the safe and secure drone operations, promoting the industry growth that is used to track the drone operations that are being done in the different parts of the country, and this to promote national security. Since 2021,
I think Mari has lost connection.
I'm having troubles with my connection.
You are back. Great. I can hear you.
Okay. All right. I was talking about the environmental impact assessment regulations, whereby these regulations are put in place to require the environmental impact assessment for large-scale drone operations that are being carried out in the country. And this is mainly to ensure that drone operations do not harm the environment and to also promote sustainable practices. Then there is also the taxation of the different drone services, whereby the government has introduced different taxes on the drone services, including the surveying, mapping, inspections, and this mainly aims to generate revenue, and promote growth for the drone industry. I'll move ahead to the public sentiment. So far, there haven't been any negative displays that have been reported in the country. Mainly, there have been the positive displays, and this is through the increasing number of people expressing interest in learning about the different drone technologies and their applications, and the curious sentiment for the different people. Then the general population sentiment is mainly positive, and this is concluded through the different Ugandans engaging in more discussions about the advanced air mobility technologies, hence a positive sentiment on the advanced air mobility. Then the current project, at the moment, I'm involved in a project whereby we're using drones to monitor the pipeline progress. So mainly it's all about project monitoring and to track the progress of the project. The opportunities where members can contribute, this can be through collaborative research initiatives in project development and implementation, and also through knowledge sharing and expertise exchange through different workshops and meetups. Different opportunities that the AAM has brought on is improving infrastructure development, such as rescue operations and environmental monitoring. This also helps to drive the innovation and economic growth as more people gain interest. Then the different challenges experienced are the regulatory frameworks that are still evolving and need refinement. There are a bit of strict laws whereby some people are not aware of them. And also the public education and awareness are crucial to address concerns and promote acceptance. Then infrastructure development is also necessary to support the widespread advanced air mobility adoption, to bring people in order to utilize the air mobility. The different upcoming events is mainly the expansion of more applications through cargo transport and medical deliveries to add on to the different milestones that have been achieved. And we hope to also increase more investment and partnership opportunities in the advanced air mobility sector. The call to action is mainly to encourage collaboration and knowledge sharing amongst stakeholders, supporting ongoing education and public awareness initiatives through workshops, and also foster innovation and investment in the advanced air mobility section to drive growth and development. Finally, there is need for collaboration, education, and innovation to ensure the responsible development and production and adoption of advanced air mobility technologies in Uganda. That is basically about the Ugandan sector. Hopefully, more shall be shared. Thank you.
Thank you so much for, although it was a little difficult to get some parts due to connection, but I believe our audience are following your slides. Thank you for presenting. So I would like to welcome to the floor our sponsor speaker, John Mora, Data Alien AI. John, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Fantastic. Yes, I can. Welcome. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. Let me share, and you know what? It's not letting me share, actually. It's grayed out on the share screen, unfortunately. Just 1 second. Let me see if I can work it out. Oh, there we go. Okay, I think you can see my screen now. So yeah, I'm John Mora. Actually, can you just confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, John, we can.
Thank you so much. Director of Communications at Data Alien, and So what I want to talk about is how AI is going to transform flight. AI is going to make it so that AAM does not remain another category of super expensive aircraft, but rather really represent a new way for all people to come together. AI will make it possible for AAM to revolutionize how we move about the planet. And the way to do that really is through certifiable AI-enabled systems. And that puts all of us really on the cutting edge. But it's a situation that's not as unfamiliar as you might think. So, we hear a lot about the promise, the challenges, and hopes for advanced air mobility. A lot of technological hurdles, regulatory murkiness, financial uncertainties. It's actually a picture very familiar to those of us who are working in civil aviation today. The same fundamental problems that will soon be faced by AAM are being faced by civil aviation today. So today's technology can only improve any of the variables safety, cost, or capacity at the expense of at least one of the other ones. So to move the envelope on all three simultaneously will require new technologies, and those new technologies are collectively known as AI. So with AI, we can increase safety, we can increase capacity, and we can improve the economics. With AI, we can provide air mobility access to all. So that's a bold statement. Who's making it? We are at Dedalian. We're a mid-sized company based in Zurich. We also have offices in Riga and Phoenix. We were founded 8 years ago. Our team has backgrounds at Google and SpaceX and many more, as you can see. We're a multidisciplinary team with extensive expertise and specialization in aviation, software and hardware engineering, robotics, AI, and certification. So why AI? Because AI can automate certain tasks faster, better, more reliably than the human brain. And so how are we using AI? Well, we're starting with vision because vision is hard and it's fundamental to flying. So we're making these three systems, we're answering three questions with three systems, the three sort of fundamental questions in flying. Where am I? Where can I fly? And where can I land? In the future, we're going to fuse together other sensors such as radar and LiDAR, but our first step is with visual sensors. And it sounds very almost science fiction to be able to identify where to land and actually give guidance to landing and identify non-cooperative traffic with cameras, but it's actually more than just a theoretical solution. We are working with the FAA and EASA, and EASA has said we may be the first company to actually certify machine learned applications or algorithms for applications in the cockpit. When we fuse all of the sensors together and we get to actuation, we're describing that sets of technology under the umbrella term situational intelligence. We'll be able to provide the ability to understand and make sense of the current environment and situation, and also to anticipate and react to a threat. What does that mean for AAM? Situational intelligence is going to allow for safer individual aircraft, but I think the most important thing to understand is that for AAM to scale, we really need to get to a point of autonomy that is described broadly as level 4 out of the 5 levels. That's where suddenly and revolutionarily, we're going to see a significant transformation where there'll be a critical mass and AAM becomes a system rather than just a collection of individual innovative aircraft. And so what does AAM look like at level 4? Well, basically, you need self-separation. So you need fully automated, optionally piloted vehicles. You need remote or onboard pilots supervising AI decisions. Under digital flight rules, aircraft will self-separate. The computer will find routes without consulting ground control. The computer will exchange information far beyond current ADS-B capabilities. Computer will share intentions and merge all of this information in plot courses. So mobility enabled in high-density urban airspace through fully autonomous flight planning, detection, avoidance, threat mitigation, and safe plan and unplanned landing. This is where AAM reaches its potential and where we're trying to contribute to that. Wrapping up, tomorrow technology will no longer be limited to improving any one of the variables: safety, cost, or capacity at the expense of one of the other ones. We will be able to move the envelope on all three simultaneously with AI-enabled situational intelligence. And what we're very excited about is that AAM will be able to grow beyond simply a category of aircraft. And with AI, AAM will revolutionize how we move about the planet. Again, I'm John Mora with Dedalian, and here's my contact information. Sorry, I went over a little the 5 minutes. Thank you so much.
That was fantastic. No, thank you. Thank you for joining us today, John. We know we are aware of your busy schedule. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I would like to welcome to the floor Don Bershoff, our guest speaker from Industry Advisors, AAM Institute. Don, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you, and I'm about ready to share my screen. Hopefully I'll pick the right screen to share. That's what I love about this. Let me see, screen share. Okay, you don't want to see. Could you see my screen? You see map?
No, I cannot.
You cannot see my screen. It says sharing. Okay.
Yes, now.
Okay, great. Well, great. Thank you for having me. I'm Don Berchoff from True Weather Solutions. We're a micro-weather data company that's really focusing on transforming UAV and AAM weather to meet the needs of the future. You know, we know that weather does not always offer a clear understanding of conditions. And what we're seeing is with pilotless aircraft now, we're losing the best weather sensor we ever had on an aircraft, the pilot. And the current aviation weather system is not sufficient enough to really provide granular enough information to have a good picture of what's actually happening where your drone is flying. So True Weather has been working on this problem to solve for the last 7 years. We've been working closely with the FAA and NASA and other government agencies, and we're addressing a problem that the current aviation weather system does not have granularity from the surface to 5,000 feet. There are very few weather measurements being taken below 5,000 feet, except at airports and where balloon launches twice a day. Everywhere else, it's just a model. That means less than 5% of the airspace has measurable cloud height and visibility data. It even has less coverage for winds above ground level and icing conditions. And that, frankly, is the place that we're focusing on, is above ground level. So how can we transform the aviation weather system as we know it? And we're going to do that by adopting Industry 4.0. Those of you who haven't heard that term, it's really about networking, sensors, IoT, crowdsourcing, security, cybersecurity, and bringing that all together. And that's what we see as generating Weather Industry 4.0. True Weather is working with NASA, FAA, and others to bring the latest advancements in technology that most of you haven't seen yet to this problem. It requires a diverse sensor data collection system, low altitude, comprehensive monitoring system, the development of urban scale models to capture those winds when they're going through urban canyons that today you just don't know are there. It requires still some humans, but most importantly, it requires transformational weather policies and standards. We have to change the weather rules from what we have today in aviation. And True Weather is working with the ICAO, Eurocontrol, FAA, and others for global harmonization around those weather rules. It's about reducing risk and increasing the weather economics to help the industry recover about 30% of lost revenue that's occurring today because of a lack of weather data that causes uncertainty. And so that's what we're really working on solving. And we've done this already with a diverse set of sensors that are deployed already at airports here in the United States that you see here. And we're working now to get these sensors approved for use. We helped write and lead the ASTM weather standard. That standard was published in January. The FAA is working on taking that standard and seeing how they use that framework to allow for third-party weather providers to be certified for cybersecurity, for reliability, for sustainability. It's not just about taking any weather data and crowdsourcing it. It has to be managed and controlled. Otherwise, the system-wide safety is going to fall apart. But there is solutions under Industry 4.0 to do that. And we are looking forward to working with international partners. I've seen a lot of you on the call today and governments. I'm retired Air Force and was the National Weather Service Science and Technology Director and have worked closely with the FAA and others to see how do we take this standard and turn it into rulemaking. And one of the things we're doing right now is we're doing testing. NASA's funding us around Dallas-Fort Worth, the key site. These technologies are all transferable and migratable to other parts of the world. We're building a sustainable system for plug-and-play sensors in urban environments, and eventually we'll be able to run a very high-resolution model with real data, not machine learning that doesn't have real data, but real data to really drive these models and really improve knowing what that weather is doing from not just a predictability standpoint, but for a real-time data management standpoint. We are trying to become the weather eyes in the sky for pilotless vehicles, and it doesn't have to be very expensive. We're working with, like I say, the CAAs, and we encourage the CAAs to reach out to us. I'm working with several countries right now, including in Latin America and Eurocontrol in Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. Yes, that was a fantastic presentation. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Amin.
So do we have Deborah for region? So while we are waiting for our region, Namibia liaisons, so I would like to welcome to the floor Philips, Philips, can you hear us? Our Nigeria liaison.
Me?
Fantastic. Yes, I.
Awesome. Okay, my name is Georgia Phillips, and I am the CEO at Titan Air Mobility. At Titan Air Mobility, we are building what we call railways in the skies to connect everyone everywhere. I am trying to share my screen. My name is Georgia Phillips, and I am the team lead at Titan Air Mobility. So today I will be talking about basically. I made a small simulation. It's just numbers on a spreadsheet of why should we be looking for investments internationally in the advanced air mobility space in Africa, or in focus now Nigeria. The capital city of Nigeria is Abuja. It is a democratic republic. We have a population of 218 million and a GDP of $472 billion. So what I'll be talking about is advanced air mobility, business model and market opportunities in Africa, with Nigeria as a focus. So mobility and logistics within the African region across Africa is broken because majority of our transportation infrastructure is still being modeled after the vestigials of the colonial system that was left behind. So the roads that were made then are being expanded. New pathways are not being opened. To ship a 40-foot container from Shanghai in China, which is 12,000 kilometers away from Lagos, costs around $4,000. But to move the same container from the port 20 kilometers away inland within Lagos, at some point in time within the last 5 years, costs $3,500. So there is that headache, and there is that inability to do business properly because of the lack of logistics infrastructure. In Rwanda, at harvest time, pumpkin sells for 100 to 400 Rwandan francs. But in the urban areas, it goes for 1,000 to 1,500 Rwandan francs. And also, Tesco in the UK sells okra at 3.3 pounds per kilogram, and in Lagos, okra is 1.2 pounds uh, uh, per kilogram. While in the harvest season in rural areas of Nigeria, that 1.2 pounds could probably buy you a basket that is about 20 to 30 kilograms. So at the end of the day, we've seen that the friction is actually the middlemen and transportation lack of transportation infrastructure. According to the World Bank, Africa needs to spend about 38 billion more each year on transportation infrastructure, plus a further 37 billion on operations and maintenance just to sustain its current level of development. The continent's infrastructure deficit is more than a mobility issue. Today, road accidents are Africa's third biggest killer. In the absence of road and railway infrastructure funding, advanced air mobility and logistics offer a starting point for a radically new model of low cost, fast, and futuristic transportation. We believe that AAM, the advanced air mobility, is going to see deployment. This is a very strong belief in on our own end at Titan Air Mobility, because we've seen how Zipline has been able to actually fly and do deployments in Africa, while it is yet to even it is yet to move any cargo for its customers in the US. So we believe that advanced air mobility will actually take off first in Africa before the US or any other, before the US or Europe or any other country. That's in terms of eVTOLs now. In the next decade, Africa needs to build AAM technologies, vertiport infrastructure, and ESA and FAA benchmark certification programs. It does not have to be exactly, but it just has to benchmark based on what is being done and within those programs. So I ran this simulation with a lot of key parameters, but the important ones are I ran it for just one city and its environs, and assumed 10 vertiports, 14 crafts for each of those vertiports, VFR of 8 hours, cargo utility rate of 70%, price per passenger of $1.5 per kilogram, cargo capacity depending on the kind of craft, because we've seen different crafts in the space lately. We've seen 2-seater, 5-seater, and 10-seater, which is this company in the UK doing a 10-seater eVTOL. Operational run rates. This is a very, very conservative operational run rate of $60, $80, and $120, and air cargo pricing of $3 per kilogram, regardless of the range. So with all these numbers that we are seeing here, we ran some simulations and discovered that with just those 10 vertiports and the 14 crafts per vertiport, in the space of 5 years, we could see an economic activity or an economic opportunity of 13 billion US dollars. And this is huge for a country like Nigeria, where our GDP is about 400 and something billion. So also considering that the average cost of a vertiport is about $500,000 to $5 million. So this is a unique opportunity in terms of the potentials. This is just baseline potentials for one city in Nigeria. So not to talk of all the other cities in Nigeria, how much more can this penetrate deeper within Nigeria and within Africa? So these numbers are just baseline of the barest minimum that one could expect in the space in Nigeria and in Africa. So in summary, operationalizing AAM with 10 vertiports, 100 flying aircraft is equivalent to 13.5 billion in economic activities within an anchor city and a sub-region. We are very bullish on regional air mobility. We are not that big on urban air mobility due to the unique circumstances of Nigeria or of Africa. Vertiports are necessary for such to exist and can be approached as a real estate play rather than an aviation industry input. And African economies can leapfrog non-existent road networks and underdeveloped transportation infrastructure in a rapid pace that is independent of governmental resources, hence exponential economic growth. Yes. So, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Phillips, for your presentation. Thank you so much. So I would like to welcome to the floor our Malawi liaison, Deborah.
Okay, sorry about the presentation is looking because I'm using a phone. My name is Deborah Mtambaliga. I'm representing Malawi as a Board of Liaisons for Advanced Air Mobility. I possess a master's degree in business administration, and I'm a founder of Aerotech Consultancies. So previously, I was working with Wincopter as a chief remote pilot, and I'm a Malawian, and I've served with UAS unmanned aerial systems for about 6 years now. And currently I live in Lilongwe City, of a population about 18 million and plus Malawi population. So basically, I'll be talking about these few topics. To begin with, I would like to point out the major developments that have happened recently in Malawi, the new technologies so far, internationally and locally. So for the international companies that have come to Malawi recently, we have got Bring Me Hope, and Bring Me Hope has brought an advanced air system called Flying Ambulance, which is being tested to deploy medical deliveries to hard-to-reach areas. And we have got Soup Aero, which has been there already since 2019. And they are phasing to a new advanced UAS named Kite. And Wincopter is also phasing to a new a drone called 198 eVTOLs, and to be carrying about 5 kgs. So for local, so far we've got the local innovation, which is not about to use local equipment for medical deliveries. And so far it's been partnering with international healthcare organizations at Senegal Connect in 2024. And recently there have been increased numbers of local drone service providers, which they are projecting from the African Drone and Data Academy, and their names, and these are a few of them that I've just put them here. And major projects so far that have been initiated in Malawi, like I said, the Flying Ambulance by Bring Me Hope and JZ International, and the undergoing tests to perform BV loss. And the impacts that have been there, they have been improved healthy care services, contributing to the universal health coverage, and we've got vast drone data available from the local drone service providers. And about the registration the registration updates, we've got key changes in registration. No, currently there have not been any improved regulations, because the Department of Civil Aviation of Malawi is still working on drone regulations, and there was need to be improved. So the Malawi government is still not approving them, still because they are still under development. And on the government initiative, so far there have been high interest with the Malawi government to initiate projects. For example, we've got the Malawi Revenue Authority, which works around security around borders, and we've got conservation operations that are increasingly adopting the drone technology in the national parks. So in this case, the implication will be there's lack of clear regulation, which creates a risky environment for the investment of new drone operators coming internationally or locally. For the public segment, there have never been so far an incident or negativity about the AM, the advanced air mobilities. For positivity, there have been high positives on positivity because there have been high impact, especially on the healthy sector. There have been, for example, here I've got successful stories from a baby Philip, which I happened to be, I was involved in the operations where there was a baby who had difficulty to breathe, and then we happened to service with the helicopter 178, and then we sent it to a remote area with a sanction equipment. And the picture that you can see on the side, we've got a soup or aero drone, which is doing better and with numbers, especially on the vaccine delivery, which really helped with COVID-19 and cholera vaccines and pilot vaccines, with a breakout of diseases we experienced during the previous years because of climate change. On the community side, the leaders, they are responding well, and the community is also responding well, and yeah, they are happy to engage in the development. So as an individual who is working with my consultancy business, I'm currently seeking donor opportunities. So I'm busy making proposals to expand my business. And then in the future, I'm really interested to conduct research on the challenges faced by local drone service providers, because we lack data on that. There is huge gap. And if there's an assistant, I would rather ask it from that side for supporting research. In conclusion, while this UAV industry is expanding in Malawi, there is significant opportunities, and the technology for the advancement of the technology and improved healthcare services, together with huge area data provision. And then with these notable challenges that I mentioned earlier, there's a cost, of course, associated to it, but there's hope that balancing these opportunities and challenges, although may be crucial, it may create a sustainable growth of the US industry in the country. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Deborah, for your presentation. So today we have an offline presentation from our Namibia liaison, Virginie Yumivana. So Ashira will play the video for you.
For social good NGO based here in Namibia. So this year we just reached a population of just over 3 million, of which 51% of that is female. We have a total area of just over 800,000 square kilometers, which is a little bit over twice the size of countries such as Germany. Our population density per square kilometer is between 3 and 4 people. So we're really one of the world's most sparsely populated countries, with half of us in the urban areas and the other half in the rural area. Great industry milestones in the unmanned aviation space. Finally, we're going to get some approved training organizations here in Namibia. So we're going to have locally trained pilots by local organizations, and Flying Labs Namibia being one of them. We also have some great partnerships from universities, which will be great for increasing local capacity and building the local ecosystem. In terms of laws and regulations, so our Namibian civil aviation technical standards for drones or drone operations, part, which is our NAMCATS Part 101, is currently a draft and is open for industry comments and review. And so is the Namibian Civil Aviation Technical Standards for any approved training organizations with our NAMCATS Part 141, also open for industry inputs. And on that note, we have had a great learning project with the Namibian Civil Aviation Authority that we did in February 2023, because industry had some pain points that they wanted to express. Some of them being the fact that foreign licenses being converted to local licenses was not possible, and is currently not possible. We're only getting our ATOs approved now, as well as complications with getting approval for BVLOS operations, which is something that also came up with our recent ICAO audit, that we do need some staff trained from our Civil Aviation Authority before we can approve BVLOS applications. And generally, most of the applications for drones, when it comes to work such as surveying or responding to disasters, really fall into BVLOS space. So it does limit the use cases, as was also brought up by industry. Also, another point that was brought up was a general lack of awareness and fear of persecution, lack of awareness for the regulations, the do's and don'ts. But we have seen the Civil Aviation Authority start publishing some media on their website and so on to give people a little bit more information to become more aware. And organizations such as Flying Labs also do their part to mitigate that. So from the workshops, a great white paper was published, and this is available at robotics.org. The workshop really focused on picking up where we are as a country in terms of our regulations, so our current state analysis, and then also where do we want to be. And if we can see where we are and want to be, we can easily identify the gaps and pick up key focus areas that we can work on with our Civil Aviation Authority in terms of regulations. We also looked at our neighbors, other countries around us, and we went through a landscape analysis and see where they are, where they're going, and together we produced a beautiful report that will help the Civil Aviation Authority in decision making and meeting key industry needs, along, of course, with the public white paper that's available online for you. So some of the key things that did come out from the workshop is that the industry did request that an online platform be developed for drone approvals, just to fast track that process and streamline that process, really. As it stands right now, they do get a little bit confused and lost between the different departments and different requirements and so on. They also did need continuous and regular co-creation sessions and picking up industry needs so that we can pick up trends and where the whole drone space is going, because at the end of the day, we need this information to formulate regulations that do serve the industry. So that's one of the highlights that came out of the workshop. So currently, the project that we're looking at in Namibia, we are hoping to get our first medical cargo delivery project off the ground. Naturally, we're also hindered by the BVLOS restrictions that currently exist, but soon. And then we also focus on disaster mitigation, response, and recovery. We suffer, especially in the northern areas of Namibia, from floods, so we do want to respond to that. But then also monitoring land degradation of forestry, mapping of informal settlements, mushrooming of informal settlements is a big issue here in Namibia. But we're also getting our youth involved because they are our future. So we do have programs for them as well. In conclusion, we hope to obtain our BVLOS approval within the next year. Therefore, we're inviting all humanitarian, education, and tech partners to join us on this amazing journey. I'm sure that you have a lot of expertise and a lot of insight from the industry, and we would be more than happy to partner and get some amazing projects off the ground in the BVLOS space. If you are interested in our regulations and our Flying Labs drone regulations engagement framework, you can read more on the robotics.org website, the white paper, and then you can reach out to Flying Labs Namibia or Robotics Direct themselves, and they can guide you through this work if you have face similar challenges in your countries as well, especially for countries where drone operations are fairly new, and sometimes the regulations the civil aviation authorities are not sure how to address issues from drone operators. And other than that, I'd like to thank you so much for listening and look forward to collaborating further. Thanks.
Now I would like to welcome to the stage Sapan Shah from Honeywell, our sponsor speaker. Sapan, can you hear me?
Thank you so much.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. You have the
All right, I think you should be able to see my screen and also hear me. Let me know if you guys are unable to see anything.
Yes, we can see that.
Perfect. Okay. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to come and talk to you about what Honeywell is doing in the advanced air mobility space. My name is Sapan Shah. I'm a Senior Director of Product Management within the Honeywell Advanced Air Mobility team. I also listed my email address just in case anyone wants to reach out to me after the call. And also I'll be monitoring the Q&A here. So if there are any questions, please drop them and I'll try to answer them. At Honeywell, we've been focusing on advanced air mobility for more than half a decade. Specifically, right around the time the first Uber Elevate was launched. The vision at Honeywell Aerospace for this space is that same-day delivery is possible in all populated parts of the world through the use of UAS. Today, same-day delivery is possible in all major metropolitan areas, but not everywhere. And so how do we work together to enable that? On the air taxi side, our vision is that 100-mile or about 160 kilometers of commute can be completed door to door in 45 minutes or less. And on the defense, our vision and what we are seeing happening in the market is a convergence of the civil and the military, especially this is accelerated with some of the ongoing conflicts around the world. And so at Honeywell Aerospace Advanced Air Mobility team, we work towards how do we build products and services to support this vision, as well as what are other things we would do as a Honeywell to enable this market and enable that vision. And, over the last several years, we've had, a decent amount of success in capturing business and being part of various different amazing programs with customers all over the world. And so we have active engagement and active program with almost all top OEMs. And so what you're showing here is just a snapshot of what that looks like. We've got programs with Vertical Aerospace on avionics and flight controls. Similarly, program with Lilium Jet, where we have a host of different solutions we are providing. Then on the third column in the first row, I'm showing Pipistrel, which is an uncrewed cargo vehicle carrying 300 kilograms of payload. We're playing flight controls. Then we've got a program on Supernal. Going down to the second row, we have got active contract with Archer, where we are supporting their entry into service. Then we got another program, which is not publicly announced yet. And then just over the last 1 week, we announced program with Ground Control Station and Electra short takeoff and landing vehicle. So we've got wide variety of products on a wide variety of vehicles. And so we are very interested in not only continuing to come up with new innovative solution, we're very invested in supporting the maturity of this market as overall. So not only Honeywell builds these technologies, but we spend tremendous amount of time, resources, and energy in saying, hey, how do we support this market space so that everyone is successful? And we do that by doing several things. One is Honeywell is an investor through our ventures team in several of these startups. Beyond investing, which represents Honeywell putting actually their dollars and sharing our sentiment with the financial market that, hey, we believe in this market and we believe in these customers, we also host a annual Advanced Air Mobility Summit in Washington, D.C. We've done it over the last 2 years, and we are planning to do again this year. And the purpose of this summit is to bring, it's a one-day summit, to bring together the regulators from the U.S. and the legislators, from the people that are actually making laws that are going to influence the adoption and the entry into service. And so over the last couple of years, we've been fortunate to have several prominent legislators attend our summit. We've had Senator Duckworth that you see on the top left. She's assigned to the Commerce, Science, and Transportation Subcommittee. On the lower left, you'll see Congressman Sam Graves. He's the chairman of the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. Then in the bottom, in the center, you're seeing Congressman Graves and Congressman Larson. They're also part of House T&I Committee. We also have regulators like FAA. We've had a former FAA administrator, Bolin. Then we've also bring in trade association, whether it's NBAA, GAMA, OEMs. You're seeing a picture of Adam Goldstein from Archer, as well as NASA. And the idea is to bring all of these organizations, all of these leaders in one room for one day to talk about what is needed for this market to be successful. What do the OEMs need, and how do we all work together to enable that? And so this, again, takes a lot of involvement from Honeywell in planning. This is a free of charge summit, invite-only summit where we bring all the people to help solve the problems. So that's one way of how Honeywell is further committing to the market. And this was like talking about AAM certification is another way. In the last summit that happened in 2023, we released a certification guide. Certification is a quite complex problem, especially for a lot of new startups arriving in this space. And so we released a certification guidance that showed what are the rules and requirements and what is happening all around the world. That was released last year. This year, we are planning to release a regulatory readiness level requirement. And the idea is, how do we objectively measure the progress of all the different players? Some of them are going to be legacy aerospace players. Some of them have been in the industry building this solution for a decade versus somebody that announced a program 12 months ago. What is an objective way of measuring it? And so Honeywell has conceived and drafted this concept, which we are calling the regulatory readiness level. That allows a way to show the progress. It's basically a framework that we are going to release publicly. Allows everybody to rank one to another. It's not, Honeywell is not going to be releasing the rankings, but we're going to releasing the framework that everyone can use as they fit to see and compare one from another. It's going to have a very similar scale to a TRL, MRL, from 1 to 9 that shows the progress. So just another example of Honeywell adding value to the ecosystem beyond just coming up with innovative products and solutions. With that, thank you so much for your support today and listening to the presentation, and look forward to either answering any Q&A either now or through email.
Thank you, Stefan, for your insightful presentation. Your efforts on the leading edge of this emerging industry is truly commendable. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Amin. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. So I would like to introduce Rafael Morales, our liaison to Dominican Republic. Rafael, can you hear us?
Hello,
Can you hear
now
me?
you can listen. Now you can listen to me,
Yes,
right?
I can. You have the floor, yes.
Okay. Yes, thank you. It took some time to authorize here. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity for being here and speak with you all and learn with you. I would like to let you know, that Fernanda, our advisor here in Brazil, she will be also speaking with me because she's developing an amazing job here. So I want to take this opportunity to let her present some of these activities. I will share my screen with you. Just a moment. How can I do this?
We welcome Fernanda as well to the floor.
Yes, please, if you can. Let me share the presentation here. So I think you can see the presentation now, right? Yes, well, okay. So here you can see some general information about our country, but I will focus on the aviation part. We have very busy air traffic in some big Brazilian cities, such as São Paulo, Rio, and Brasilia. You may not know, but São Paulo has one of the biggest helicopter fleet of the world, a lot of aircraft and daily landing and takeoffs operation. We see some opportunities here on eVTOL's operation, on our taxi, cargo, tourism, medical operation, and of course, airport shuffle. We can expect also the reduction of some travel time to coast beaches. We have some holidays here that is impossible to go and take a short time to travel to the beaches here in Brazil. A lot of traffic. We expect also to improve transfer to touristic and offshore sites. Also improve the infrastructure for traveling and cargo transportation to some agribusiness cities, since our GDP is basically basically on the agribusiness. So we have a lot of cities here with agro and agro marketing, and we need to connect the cities faster. So we also see a potential improvement on air transport accessibility and rescues on remote area, mainly on the north of the country. In terms of industry milestones, Fernanda will speak now with you about this topic.
Fantastic. We are adding Fernanda to the panelists.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Sorry, I could not. Oh, now she's online. Yes, perfect.
Okay, Fernanda, can you hear us?
Hi, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Fantastic. Welcome aboard. Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, all. I'm Fernanda Siniskalki. I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Larissa. Thank you all. So we have some operators with LOIs, most in business aviation. We can see that there is a preference for Ever Mobility, being a Brazilian manufacturer and part of Embraer Group. And there are 2 airlines as operators too. Can go to the next, please. Thank you. We have 3 eVTOL makers here in Brazil. Vertical Connect with an autonomous vehicle carrying 2 passengers. Moya Aero Autonomous 2 with a payload of 200 kilograms just for cargo. And Ever Mobility with 1 pilot and 4 passengers. And 6 passengers when it turns autonomous. All of them have similar range, average 110 kilometers. Eve had recent investment an amount of around $150 million, and it has announced recently the tests with Vector, its UATM software. And in the last few weeks, Eve unveils the full-scale prototype, starting the test campaigns. And this one is Moya's prototype which is in flying test phase. It was showcased in São Paulo's Expo eVTOL. We were there, it was amazing. And the entry in service is 2026. Thank you, Larissa, and thank you all.
Thank you, Fernanda. Sorry for the inconvenience. I mean, I thought she could enter before, but now just we have some relevant information here about Brazil and about the advanced air mobility information on how we have been developing, but mainly we have some concerns about electrical grid, affordable ticket prices, and also the airspace control, which are topics very important for the beginning of the operation. In terms of regulation, the ANAC, our aviation authority, they are developing some certification and operational proceeding and definition on infrastructure and licensing. In February, they start the first phase of eVTOL certification. They had to define some rules on certification, safety requirements, and they also started a sectorial consultation here for the public to check the airworthiness rules. Recently in April, ANAC used a public consultation for a regulatory sandbox creation, which will be very important for the advanced air mobility ecosystem and to stakeholders to be part of the creation of these new rules and to include new aviation technologies and how the regulation can receive such of these new technologies. Here on the infrastructure topic, we have some airport operators concerned. They are concerned about it. They are developing some projects on this topic. We have two business aviation airport working on it. They were at the Expo eVTOL event that Dan was with us, and they talk about how to create vert hubs and implement these vert hubs on their site. Important to note that on May, ANAC used a call for projects also for interest parts to create and to make some definition on the regulation of vertiports and land and takeoff sites for eVTOLs. So stakeholders are being part of this construction of this regulation construction. Also for the Airspace Control Authority, they are very also concerned about to create a new airspace classification that will be required once the operation is authorized. So they need to have full access to the capacity and to information that they understand will be detrimental for the flight authorizations. They emphasize that they need to have and to create digital flight rules in accordance with NASA's new concept of digital flight. And they are working very hard to solve traffic conflicts on the urban air mobility environment. In terms of public acceptance, in 2021 and 2022, Eve developed a concept of operation here with helicopter flights. So it was very important to check how the public would react. Some people that have never flown in their lives, they could have, they paid for flights of 300 reais or between 300 reais and 500 reais to fly between these some areas in Rio de Janeiro. So they could check how the public would react for that. It was a very positive reaction. We need also to study the integration of other means of transportation. And for this reason, some cities such as São Paulo, Curitiba, and other city halls, they are starting to develop specific studies on eVTOL's integration on other means of transportation as well. Here we expect to see the first certification from ANAC, since we have a manufacturer company here, Eve, for 2025, 2026. We expect the first operations to occur on cargo and offshore operation. Let's see what's going to happen, but we are following close all the regulation and all the studies on the advanced air mobility development. We were at São Paulo Expo on May this year, and we have some other relevant events here. Fernanda and I, we have been working on some thoughts about next projects here. We, of course, will participate on the public trust research, but also Fernanda is engaged on a safety study in collaboration with a Brazilian organization. Me as a lawyer, would like to put an international index on legal framework to see around the world how the regulators are working and which rules are allowed and how the other regulators can advance on this topic. It would be very important to count with all of you to make this happen. So I'd like to thank again for the opportunity, and we are Fernanda and I, we are available for any doubt or anyone who wants to talk with us. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much for presenting. Thank you a lot. So I would like to welcome on the stage our Institute member, guest speaker, Solika Talbot. Solika, can you hear me?
Thank you all. It is indeed a pleasure to address you today. I am probably the most robust and passionate person about the future of mobility. I'm just going to take a few minutes of your time today to talk about the field, the ecosystem, how we see the importance of advanced air mobility for not just us as individuals in our cities, but really this is a global concern. I have had a wonderful career, initially about 20 years as a corporate defense attorney representing OEMs, and then as a state operating officer running New Jersey's Motor Vehicle Commission, and then as a senior advisor at the United States Department of Transportation. Between my private career background as a defense lawyer and the time that I spent in both state and federal service, what I've come to understand is how important a regulatory environment is for the future of mobility. I also teach the future of mobility to urban planning students at the University of Southern California. The truth is, all of us are working towards a solution. You know, even the screenshot behind me is all these vehicles in the air, but they're not just vehicles, they are a means to an end. How am I getting to where I need to go? Who am I servicing? How am I in aid? All that mobility, all that transportation, and the better that we do that transportation means that we are giving people an opportunity at the fullness of life. What is that opportunity? Well, if we think about these innovative technologies, advanced air mobility is really at the pinnacle of this transformation from electric propulsion systems to autonomous flight. It's the reason I started my business, Autonomous Vehicle Consulting. I work with industry and community engagers as well as governments and city agencies, figuring out how to bring us forward into this new mobility, but giving greatest opportunity to the most amount of people while we do it safely. As we think of the future of air travel, it will be a revolution for urban mobility. It will provide economic opportunity. We should be increasing accessibility to mobility and transportation. And I'm certainly inspiring our generations as they come to see all the opportunities that are out there. But for the person who is on the ground, so to speak, your neighbor, the person that you might see at the grocery store or meet on your walk down the street, what does it mean to them? Urban air transport, we know how congested our roadways are, especially in urban areas, but also for accessibility in very rural communities that have little to no transportation options. When we think about an emergency service, it's one thing to get the ambulance to drive down a congested roadway to try to reach the person who is in critical need of medical attention. But advanced air mobility offers an opportunity to get to them in an immediate fashion and transport them in as expeditious a fashion as possible to critical and life-saving medical services. When we think about aerial surveillance and monitoring, whether it's wildlife or infrastructure or disaster, even environmental research, advanced air mobility provides untold access and reach than we've ever had before in these areas. I was the senior advisor at Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, whose job it is to provide enforcement and regulation for large truck and bus operations moving freight across the United States. This is an industry that is on the brink of disaster. The movement of last mile cargo, the opportunity to step in and take some of these vehicles off the roadway, creating efficiency, moving healthcare supplies, reducing delivery times, improving logistics, all of this is necessary, and advanced air can provide that. A previous speaker talked about the importance of advanced air mobility when it comes to agriculture. Being used for a lot of reasons in that ecosystem, whether it's monitoring crop health or analyzing soil conditions, reducing resource consumption and increasing sustainable practices in agriculture. All of that is a possibility with new mobility in the advanced air industry. We know about tourism and sightseeing, but whoa, people who have been in communities where there have been these tremendous fires, they could use this technology for search and rescue, for life-saving. Traffic management and congestion. I live in Los Angeles, and we hear things buzzing all above us, but generally they're buzzing for the purposes of obtaining somebody who is suspected of committing a crime. We would prefer that the air travel that's taking place above us on a day-to-day basis is as environmentally safe as it possibly can be. We would prefer that it is providing life-saving technology, whether it is weather surveillance or getting someone safely to medical care. There are a myriad of factors that should encourage us to do all we can to advance this technology as much as possible. I've given you a diverse number of cases to demonstrate how transformative advanced air mobility will be. Efficiency, safety, accessibility, regular transportation, paving the way for a future where aerial mobility plays an even greater central role in shaping the way that we move, we connect, and in fact, how we thrive in global communities. By championing the future of advanced air mobility and embracing these transformative potentials, we are at the forefront of dynamic and a groundbreaking industry. We are poised to redefine how we travel, how we connect as communities, and how the skies will transport us tomorrow. Our passion, our enthusiasm are all essential in driving progress. But don't forget how critical and important policy is in collaborating with technologists and scientists and those in the industry who want us to see an improved tomorrow. I am ready to take to the skies with advanced air mobility and hope that you will join me there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Salika, for your fantastic presentation. I appreciate that. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
So we have another offline presenter today from Chile, our Chile liaison, Cassandra Leiva, who will play the video recorded. Okay, so Diego, thank you for joining us. We have been waiting for you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So you have the floor, please. Yes, we have Diego Gonzalez here, our liaison from Argentina.
Thank you very much. I am happy to be here. Let me share my screen. Whoop. Here we are. So, well, this is fantastic for me. I put my clock here ticking right now. I came from Argentina. Of course, the capital is Buenos Aires. We are a federal republic, and we are the 8th largest country in the world. So, in terms of advanced air mobility major development, I belong to the team who is working from 2-3 years before in the Corporación América airports. We are focused on these working areas, particularly from infrastructure vertiports areas and all concerning vertiports as development. So this is a huge, very, very, very good project. We are working hard in agreement with different stakeholders, if it's all manufacturers or other vertiports designer or energy providers as well. So we are working and designing routes and projects for vertiports, not in Argentina, but in the rest of the world also as well. Just in order to be to make an update in Argentina about drone law, it's you are seeing on the screen the resolution and provisions that are here in Argentina, and this is the number of the 1,500 drone registered in the Civil Aviation Authority. Okay, we have in terms of drones technology some fields we are developing and not in the from the technology point of view in Argentina in fields like surveillance or in terms of agriculture as well and different uses as well. But the news in Argentina right now is the new laws and the new policies is the last decree that modify the aeronautical code, including the artificial intelligence aircraft within the national law. And last week, that's the reason why I changed my presentation. Sorry that this is the updated one. The law, the decree 663, specifically and concretely including the advanced air mobility in the new regulation of Argentina. So this is a good news for us because until this decree, until last week, we have only legislations and regulations on drones field, but here Argentina definitely started to think in terms of advanced air mobility or urban air mobility, which is the key changes in legislation from this new decree. Well, the urban air mobility as part of the unmanned air aviation is a strategic for the government for developing in business or investment in Argentina. Of course, the law as a principle develop the use of aircraft from advanced air mobility and trying to put the no over regulations as a way to facilitate the development of the advanced air mobility as well. So, of course, the integration of airspace, manned and unmanned aircraft, but with segregation in certain space, like cities as well. So, this is great news. And finally, of course, the law requires a fair balance between operational, national defense, safety, state and private interest. So, as this is a very beginning in Argentina, there is nothing in terms of advanced air mobility for highlight. Only in terms of development that we had in 2021, we ran the first Congress from the private sector. The second one edition is coming soon, running by Flight Edge. And in terms of training, I am running and directing an academic online in which we teach in Spanish by moment only about urban air mobility law and regulations. So in conclusion, in Argentina, and this is the big news, since this month, July, the federal legislation recognized the urban air mobility or advanced air mobility in the federal regulations. And in my particular vision, and this is put on the table, I think, and this is because I'm not a lawyer, sorry, but I think that the advanced air mobility law should be deployed or developed in a separate body of law from aviation law if the industry want to make it easy, the introduction to the cities or to the societies. Okay, so that is from my side. I took my 5 minutes. Thank you very much, and remember that Argentina is a land of opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diego, for joining us, and enjoy the presentation. Thank you so much. Rafael, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. Good to have you online. So you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen. It's a pleasure for me to be here with all of you and sharing a little bit of the context of the Dominican Republic. This is a graphic that shows a little bit. We probably know for tourism and a lot of our beach. So our main economy sectors are tourism and agriculture and construction. In terms of the air mobility, there's no public policy at this time. We're just starting the discussion for regulations and all this stuff. And recently, and about 4 years ago, we had our first regulation on remote piloted aircraft systems, drones, and they pretty much just sets requirements for the remote pilot certification or aircraft registration or operational safety. We don't have any industry or any development of any kind of vehicle at this time. And the regulation also just requires some liability coverage for third-party damages. And those regulations came because there were drones that were flying around presidential palace. So that was the big wake up call that we do need some regulation. And there's another regulation about the registration labeling requirements for small remotely pilot aircraft. Those are pretty much basically the regulation we have. However, this year we have the first certification air corridor to deliver in urban areas documents using drones. So the Dominican Institute of Civil Aviation granted a pension fund company, FFP Crescera Group, a certification that company can operate an air corridor in one of the main avenues of the city to deliver documentation by using drones. However, that pilot have not yet taken place, but they do have the certification to do so. So for us, there is a big milestone in terms of the air mobility. This is just some thought in this area. The authorities are really encouraged to have some regulation, and they're starting the conversation in the Dominican Republic to use the air mobility and drones as benefits in terms of document transportation, agriculture, and I'm thinking in a bigger step as an opportunity in the tourism sector. So we are starting to have that conversation for policymaker and also some private developers that have been involved in the infrastructure industry and in airports and in private airports. We do have one of the largest and most successful private airports in the world in Punta Cana. And lately, there's been an executive order to establish the need of reviewing and updating the civil aviation legal framework, mainly to have consistency with the GAAMF standards. So currently, there's a bill in the Congress to introduce some modification to the aviation law, and there's also another project for infrastructure of airports that will include vertiports, and for the first time will introduce the concept and the legal term and definition of the urban advanced air mobility. In conclusion, I think we have we are in a position to as we explore a lot of tourism, we can be a big player in the tourism using the advanced air mobility. But we, of course, as many of you have to update the regulation, there will be a lot of political and significant changes, and also the new vision, including the people. The regulatory framework will be one of the biggest challenge, and but we are, I think this community helps to know and to start a discussion that allowed us to have this new framework, a new way of living. I think I just took my 5 minutes. I will really appreciate this opportunity, and I'm really glad to continue in touch with the community, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rafael, for your presentation. Thank you for being here. All right, so I would like to invite Paula.
Hey, hi. Hi, Amin.
Hello and good day. You have the floor right there.
Hey, thanks, man. Let me just share this over here. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, nice. So, hey, hi everyone. My name is Hector Rida. I'm from Mexico. I'm aerobatic commercial pilot and CEO of Rixar Aeronautics. So the presentation is about the first semester of 2024 Mexico Innovation Opportunities. General information about Mexico is the country is Mexico, the capital is Mexico City. The type of government that we have is Federal Republic. Population is about 129 million with a 0.73% growth rate and a GDP of $1.47 trillion. The table content of the presentation is going to be about industry milestones, milestone in gender and technology in agriculture, agricultural drone challenges and milestones, security and regulations, eVTOL milestone challenges, air surveillance integration, educational advancements in drone technology, and the conclusion. So about the industry milestone and challenges that Mexico is moving is, well, the framework is being placed in order, but there is this necessity to encourage some drone schools that are out there that are not within the frame of the AFAC, that is the regulatory authority here in Mexico. So there is this concern and this challenge to make sure that all the schools get into the framework that the AFAC has been working during these years. Also, encouraging through the new pilots to complete the proper training through obtaining their licenses. There is this challenge in the same way that some pilots are not flying their vehicles with their correct license or even with a license. So this is a challenge to erase. And well, a cool milestone is that there is a lot of entrepreneurial people out there here in Mexico that is looking forward to jump into the industry and into the technology, but the framework is not that clear. So that's another challenge that we need to address. A nice milestone is about gender here in technology. We have two Mexicans that has been raising the flag here in Mexico. One is Eduardo Vibresca. He's an agronomist, and he is using drones for optimizing crop growth. And the other one is Vicky Montes. She's 19-year-old. Her family has an agave field, and she has been using the technology to spray herbicides around the field. So yeah, she has been doing an amazing job. Both encourage that water saving for crops is something super useful in their field. And well, these kind of milestones for the industry and for Mexico are quite good because they are open to the gender of equality. About drones in agriculture, Mexico is moving really forward and pushing forward in this kind of technology. There is the University of Chapingo. They are using RGB images to capture maturity detection and classifications of mangoes. They are using this technology, and the university has pushing forward their students to do their research under this. And well, again, these kind of projects contributing to the modernization and sustainability of Mexico in the agricultural sector. About security and regulations in the milestones, this one it's both. It's a milestone, but it's also a challenge. The concern about having excessive Chinese drones around the country and with a framework that is not well established, there are these criminal organizations gaining access to the technology and using them in the incorrect way. So yeah, that's a challenge. There's been some kind of collaboration between governments, Chinese and Mexican, to neutralize these kind of threats, but there has not been that much done since the framework, as I've mentioned in the past, is not well established. Recent forms has been imposed for 4 years of jail for people using drones in criminal activities. And well, again, the comprehensive regulation needs to be addressed for potentials in drones. In the eVTOL sectors, the development of comprehensive regulatory framework is also in place, but since there is not that much advance of eVTOLs in Mexico, the framework is not that clear. Airspace integration, cybersecurity and physical security is also a concern. in the same way infrastructure, and increased international collaboration is something that I have seen that it's needed here in Mexico more than ever. I have seen that EASA and Chinese governments have been trying to approach as much as they can. Federal Aviation Administration, I believe they also been doing a great job, but I think that increased international collaboration is super important. Environmental care policies, and again, the training for pilots and all this concern for the deployment of technology is something that it's a challenge just to make sure the technology is deployed in the best possible way. About air surveillance, and this is a milestone because Mexico City is the capital and they are forward to start deploying drones and well, helicopters. So I mentioned here helicopters because it could be also a really good opportunity for eVTOLs to start maybe looking how to approach to the Mexican city government just to propose them and see how cost effective and how good this technology can enhance their integration in Mexico City capital. So also the necessity of the challenge to gain in Mexico City capital infrastructure for obstacle detection and avoidance is super important, and they don't have any of these at the moment. And in the educational sector, we have several universities here in Mexico. I'm just going to be focusing in one that is the Technological of Monterrey. That is one of the most prestigious universities here in Mexico. And they've been doing these tech drone championships. And they've been doing it in a really cool way where they encourage their students to deploy the technology in real world scenarios using their knowledge and programming and control electronics. And it's been a really positive championship in the educational environment. Universities, not just Aztec, also another one called Anahuac and Ibero, they are also into their own projects, but well, I focus at this moment in this one. And yeah, that's like in the educational background here in Mexico. And in conclusion, well, the importance of careful regulation and international cooperation, it's really important that the cooperation between governments and in this case Mexico just increase and remains as it is. EASA has been really, well, Mexico has been relying a lot in EASA in their footsteps, but I believe that other governments should start also doing the same as EASA, so Mexico can start moving a little bit faster in the deployment of technology as any other countries out there. And well, another thing, standardization of anything that happens in the industry is really important also for Mexico, so we can start moving forward. And that's all. I mean, yeah, thanks to everyone. And just want to thanks to Dan, to Ashiro, and to Amin and Marang and every listener that has been helping us to bring up this incredible and informative forum into today forum. So yeah, that's all. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hector, for joining us today. So I would like to invite Paula. We've been waiting for her. Paula, can you hear us?
Sure, thank you.
Fantastic. Yes, you have the floor.
Hi, Amin, how are you? Hi, everyone. Bienvenidos a todos los que están acá también en habla hispana, todos nuestros amigos de Latinoamérica. Gracias por invitarnos a ser parte de este evento. Thank you to everyone, and thank you for Amin and everyone, and Dan, for inviting us to be part of this event. I'm going to be presenting, just a moment. So I'm here to present Colombia, and I work for a company that it's called UAV Masters. UAV Masters been working in Colombia to promote the use of unmanned and aerial aviation. And Colombia's been doing a lot of efforts to promote this by starting with a new law in the country by the Aerocivil, or the local authority. Saying that, our industry's milestone will be that the local authority has been creating some spaces to conducting flight tests. Past June, during the month of June in La Guajira, we have performed the first test flight for BBLOS with one of an American company which came to this location and performed this flight. This will give us an opportunity to make our country more attractive to international companies that will be interested in having drone delivery services and allowing local companies to develop maintenance programs and technology. Also, here with UAV Master, we have partners with Aero Auto Global to start feasibility study for AAM. And also we have a great partnership with True Weather, with John that has already spoken in this space, and with Vodix, with that they both have going on projects with NASA, and we will use their expertise and technological tools to create scenarios for Colombia. Also, as industry milestones, we have companies like Pelagos Drone that have already accumulated very good expertise on BBLOS, and that will show authorities the capabilities of these aerial vehicles. And also, we have 2 years ago, and I think I told you about this 6 months ago on the last summit, that we have here in Medellin the support of government to make it a reality to start working on some vertiports on the city to make sure that we can know all that it's needed to be building this type of constructions for eVTOLs. Regarding the new laws and policies, back on September 2023, the National Aviation Agency of Colombia issued a regulation for unmanned aircraft, and that included Type C aircraft specifically for eVTOLs. So that's a huge progress for our country, and they also included a new group into this National Aviation Agency, which will give us the opportunity to create small groups around professionals that will give a new ideas of how to we can bring technology regarding advanced air mobility. And also they are thinking about UTM for the system that will give us the opportunity to know exactly which kind of aircraft are on the air at the moment and how to integrate it with regular aviation. About the public sentiment, well, the public is very aware of the technology, and we recently have a small case where EHAN brought one of their products here to Colombia. Based on our current regulation, this aircraft was unable to fly, but that opened up a great space to start thinking about what would it be to have these kind of aircrafts on the air and on the top of everyone. So the public's starting to asking questions, and that will give us the opportunity to bring all of you to resolve all these questions that we have regarding this new kind of mobility. And in conclusion, well, Colombia waits for you, your ideas, your businesses, and investment to jointly shape the project that will open up this door for Latin America, and exactly based on all the regulation that we need to have to make this work. So thank you for this time, and hopefully if you have any questions, we can meet each other by LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paolo, for presenting. Thank you for joining us today. So I would like to welcome to the stage our last speaker for today, our United States liaison, Chris Fernando. Chris, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Fantastic. Yes, I can. You have the floor.
Great. Let's see, share my screen. Hi, everyone. I think it's mostly good afternoon and good evening.
Fantastic.
Thank you to. So quick introduction to myself. I'm Chris Fernando, the U.S. liaison for the AAM Institute. For the past 20 plus years, I've been in aviation, conducting research and consulting for the FAA, NASA, airports in the US primarily, and state and local governments. And the past 10 plus years, almost 15, I've really focused on unmanned aircraft systems integration and advanced air mobility. I teach 2 classes at Florida Tech on AAM and AAM infrastructure. And I'm also the co-host of a podcast that's really focused on transportation and aviation, and have had the pleasure of having a few of the guests attending today on the podcast. So since I have only a few minutes, I had to pick and choose what I covered today, and hopefully everyone can see the screen here. So a lot of you obviously know facts about the US, so I won't kind of spend too much time on it. As I mentioned, the FAA is leading efforts on the federal level. NASA is playing a key role as a federal agency in terms of leading innovation, research that feeds the industry and FAA with information that drives policymaking, regulatory updates, and so on. AFWorks is kind of the DoD research arm, and several other agencies, part of the interagency working group, and then of course state and local governments, DOTs, and so on. Some of the achievements that we have kind of accomplished in the past 12 plus months, maybe 18 months. Obviously, ConOps 2.0 is really driving a lot of the planning efforts operationally. FAA also published Innovate 28, which is essentially the AAM implementation plan. They launched a key site initiative in Dallas, Texas, to help establish digital infrastructure for airspace management for low altitude operations. So there are quite a few players, industry, local government, operators, all collaborating to make these operations scale. Of course, Engineering Brief 105, which is the vertiport development guidance, was also published. We expect the next version to be published, I'll say soon, hopefully later this year, early next year. And there's a lot of state engagement. It's exciting to see, and I have not covered all the states here. I've just listed a few that came to mind. I live in North Carolina, so a little bit biased, but Ohio, Georgia, Florida, parts of California, Illinois, Washington State, Utah, Texas, Assam, I think Alaska is another that's developing plans for drone and eventual AAM operations. So a lot going on. These are some highlights. The 2 graphics you see, one is the AAM partnerships that NASA has. There's a link. I think these slides will be shared, so you can use the link to click on and find out who all the partners are in the various states. And there are 3 other countries as well, where NASA has established research partnerships to move the industry forward. And on the last graphic, you'll see the Beyond partners, the FAA's Beyond Visual Line of Sight program, which is kind of the next phase of the integrated pilot program, is at 8 different sites. They're doing a lot of interesting research, testing, and operations in these locations and states. Some of the I selected a few OEM announcements to share with you. I know a lot of you have seen these in the news, so bear with me. These are the ones that excited me. So I was really excited to see the Electra short takeoff and landing 2-seat demonstrator take flight in Manassas. For those of you who haven't seen it, highly recommend you taking a look on YouTube for the video of that flight. It's very impressive to see that aircraft land and take off, in 100 to 300 footprint runway, if you can even call it a runway. Joby, of course, delivered their first aircraft to the Air Force and has continued flight testing and inching their way closer to becoming the first certified aircraft in the US. Beta Technologies achieved full piloted transition. So did Archer. We had Volocopter doing some demo flights in Tampa. Beta also flew the aircraft from Vermont down to Florida, Eglin Air Force Base. And then I think lastly, it's exciting to see some of the fully autonomous aircraft, essentially the Cessna 208 retrofit aircraft in the certification pipeline. So I'm referencing the Reliable Robotics, Merlin Labs, X-Wing aircraft, and so on. And so you can also see, I mean, I mentioned X-Wing, I think Joby acquired some of the autonomous capabilities of X-Wing, and I expect to see similar acquisitions, consolidations over the next 12, 18 months as the market figures itself out in terms of funding and lack thereof. Some of the challenges, obviously, certification of the aircraft taking a lot longer than people anticipated, which is not a real surprise to those in the industry who have been in aviation a long time, but I think a bit of a shock to the investment world and also the folks who are new to the industry. Regulations, not just at the federal level in terms of airspace integration, but at the state and local level, they still remain a challenge and will remain a challenge. And I'm talking about land use planning, permitting, just basic understanding or lack thereof of what AAM is and how to integrate it with other modes of transportation. Lack of funding, as I mentioned before, at all levels of government, and investments for the OEMs will continue to be a stressor, and unfortunately see folks exit the market. Environmental considerations, I think, will be a critical challenge to address, weather being one of probably the longer poles in the tent, in my opinion, because some of these first generation aircraft will not be able to fly in certain weather conditions, especially extreme heat, extreme cold, etc. Development of initial infrastructure. We still don't really have any type of vertiport infrastructure in existence, and retrofitting heliports is not an easy task, especially on the energy side of things. And then competing interests for energy. I talked to a lot of folks who understand, or at least beginning to understand, the potential challenges of just not having capacity. But I think there's also a lack of understanding in the system of the ROI of providing energy for data centers versus a vertiport. What is ROI for the community? What is the ROI for the actual funding source, and so on. Price points. I anticipate the price point for initial operations in the next 5 to 10 years will be extremely high, which will limit the user base, the customer base. Some of the anticipated pricing that's put out there, it has some work to be done, massaging to be done, because I think those initial price points would be quite high. And lastly, the workforce development. Again, there'll be competing interests. Pilot shortage of the airlines is already a real thing and has been for many decades. So finding pilots for AAM operations will be a challenge in itself, but then for the vertiport, urban planners and technicians and software developers and so on, I think workforce will be a critical piece. I know I'm coming up on time, so very quickly, what do we have to look forward to? I'm excited about drone delivery operations. I think we are probably 12 to 18 months away from turning a corner and seeing some real scaling of routine operations that are already occurring in North Carolina, New York, Texas, Florida, California, and so on. Amazon got their BVLOS approval. So we're seeing some good energy with the Keysight initiative. I'm hoping that will lead to scaling. We're seeing DFR, drone as a first responder programs, being established. in various states and cities. We are seeing research being done by Duke University on augmenting DFR programs with the delivery of AEDs and Narcan to emergency situations. And then AIM operations, if you think about crawl, walk, run, we will have a World Cup in 26, the Olympics in LA in 28, and the Winter Olympics in 2034. So the optimistic side of me thinks maybe 26 could be where we start crawling in terms of operations and build on that momentum. Fingers crossed. And then development of digital infrastructure is going to be critical. I think we're seeing some states like North Carolina, Oklahoma, Texas beginning to ingest some money at the state level, and potentially development of public-private partnerships to really supercharge, if you will, the development of ground-based radar, weather monitoring. I heard Don's name mentioned with True Weather, who's doing amazing work for the industry. But those are the types of investments we need to accelerate operations. And then, I'm excited to see future mobility. I always tell people that this is not just an aviation problem we're trying to solve. It's a transportation problem. So seeing AAM as a part of future of mobility, a part of smart city master plans, like Orlando, it's great to see, because AAM is one part of the future of mobility. And even if AAM is accessible to a few or the rich or VIPs, AAM in itself could potentially, bring up other modes of transportation, other mode choices, improve the quality, accessibility, equity, and so on. So, and then the last, I won't cover it, but those are some key media platforms that I like to access and get my news from. Obviously, the usual suspects, but the Vertical Flight Society, True Mobility newsletter, and the DPEN newsletter, I find really helpful for me to keep up with all the happenings in the AAM world. With that, thank you for your time and attention, and I look forward to hearing what presentations we have tomorrow. Over to you, Amin.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us today. So as we conclude our first day, I would like to thank all our speakers for their valuable contributions and our audience for their participation. We have had an enriching day of discussions and insights. Please join us as we continue to explore the future of advanced air mobility tomorrow, and have a great evening, night, and day, wherever you are, and see you all tomorrow. Thank you.